Welcome everyone. Good morning. Thanks for coming. I can't see any of your faces, which is weird. I'm used to seeing everyone's faces. But I'm Brooke Herron, and I'm just gonna be with you guys for about 45 minutes this morning, talking about email marketing for wineries, which is part of what I do every day for small to mid-sized wineries. Just gonna give you a little brief profile on myself. I've been working in the wine industry for over 18 years, since 2001, when I was 21. I've been working with small to mid-sized wineries that entire time, as well as some import and export and some time in Europe, doing some consulting. And I'm based in Sonoma County. And for the past 6 years, I've been doing digital marketing and sales strategy consulting and management for small wineries and small wine industry businesses. So wait till maybe what, 5 after to get started with the slides?
Yeah, I think that works. And obviously this is Craft Wine Association. You guys registered on our website. So I'm going to just go ahead and hand it over to Brooke to start whenever she's ready. Our organization provides these webinars weekly just for educational purposes in the wine industry, trying to make sure that everybody has the tools that they need to get their wine sold online. And this is just another one in that series. The next one coming up next week is how to take great iPhone photography with Go Gold Media.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, if you want to go ahead and start, Brooke, I think you're good because we're recording. So if anybody misses
How many people do we have so far?
Right now we have 9.
Okay. Well, I won't go too far just in case. I want to give people, a little bit of time to get here because I know that people sometimes come in about 5 minutes after. So, but just in case you didn't hear my introduction, I've been in the wine industry about 18 years. I'm typically working with small to mid-sized wineries. So pretty much anything you come up against, I have had to deal with that as well. I've been in marketing management, hospitality management, DTC sales management, import and wholesale management, and now digital marketing management. So, there's a lot of issues that small wineries face, especially when it comes to technology, selling online. Fortunately, or unfortunately, COVID has forced everyone to sort of get up to speed very quickly if they weren't previously when it comes to e-commerce and online sales. And I think this presents a great opportunity for those of us in the wine industry currently to improve everything and maximize our potential to sell online so that when we do start getting that regular flow of people back in wineries, we're going to be actually making more than we ever made previously in our sales overall per year because of the improvements that wineries have been making to their e-commerce and their online and digital sales. And that really excites me because I've been trying to get the wineries I work with to sort of up their digital game for about a decade. So.
All righty.
I'll give it a few minutes, but I've got some little boxes up on the screen. You'll see that sort of give you an idea of what the order of topics are for today. I'm going to stop after the first few slides for comments and then do a couple more topics and then stop at the end. And we have plenty of time for questions and answers. And actually, I was hoping to spend most of the time today on answering questions and getting questions because I think that's probably the most effective way that I can be of assistance and help the wineries.
That sounds great. All right, we've got 11 participants.
Okay, so give it another minute. Let's see what we've got here. Well, maybe I'll just get started and go a little slowly so that if people jump in, they can not have missed too much.
Okay.
So go to our first slide. Basically, I'll just start with a little bit of a brief, my perspective on email marketing for wineries. I have been working with a lot of wineries recently that never really focused on marketing, and their idea of email marketing was just sending a few emails a year, or it was sending a lot of emails, but they had never really focused on how to lay out those emails from a sales perspective, or how to convert or capitalize on getting better sales. So what I like to start with when I start working with a new winery is to sort of talk to them about their goals and give them a realistic idea of what we should be shooting for if we want to increase our overall sales. So as a previous marketing manager, I'm always thinking big picture. I'm thinking whole year, whole quarter. I'm not thinking just per campaign. I want my businesses to make more money for the year, not just with one campaign. And how that works best is to consider a lot of goals beyond just, I want more sales. We all want more sales. But what happens when we write emails and create emails with only the goal of, I want more sales, is we end up coming off sometimes a little bit aggressive or a little bit salesy. And we end up sometimes forgetting to include other types of content that are not sales focused. When in reality, what works best to sell more and to engage customers is to mix up your content and to have both non-promotional and promotional. So when I ask my clients about goals for their email marketing, I encourage them to have goals such as increasing their open rates, increasing their engagement and click rates, increasing the number of customers that purchase per email versus just increasing the dollar amount in sales, because that's actually not a very specific goal, and it's completely changeable depending on the price point of the products that we're selling. If we're selling a $100 bottle, obviously the sales are going to be higher at a smaller number of sales. So I like to look at the average number of sales a brand is making per campaign. So for the past 6 months, what's the average number of sales you have made per campaign? Now, our goal now should be to, yes, increase the number of sales that we're making per campaign, but it should also be to increase the number of people who are opening campaigns and to increase the number of people who are clicking links in that campaign and visiting your website, AKA engaging with your content. That's what really shows us how good our content is, how relevant our content is. When customers are engaging, it means they're interested. And if they're interested, they're more likely to buy. So this is what we want above everything. We want engaged customers, interacting and opening. And when you do things right with email, you'll see your numbers steadily increase with open rates and engagement rates. And you'll also see a lot of increased customer retention and even club member retention when you share the right kind of content. So this is just an example, and this is a super basic calendar. This is not anything fancy, but this is from one of my small wineries that I work with. It's always advisable to have a calendar planned out in advance, at least a few months, with general topics and campaign ideas. You don't have to plan down to every detail, but it's a good idea to at least be 1 month in advance with a specific campaign and products already chosen for that campaign, and a few months out with a general idea of the topics and the products that you will be marketing, as well as the content that you're wanting to share that should be relevant or related to those promotions. So this is just an example, a real life example, from one of my clients who is a Sicilian wine importer. As you'll see, we've got a calendar here, and we've got 2 campaigns in the beginning of the month. One is a non-promotional campaign, Should You Chill Red Wines? That's something just fun and educational for our customers. We've got a sales campaign, Summer Sippers, where we're going to sell whites and rosé wines for summer. That is a sales campaign, and it's going to be an obviously sales-focused campaign. And then towards the end of the month, we're going to have another non-sales-focused campaign, and that's a blog post that we're going to share with our customers about Sicilian dishes with wine pairing. I can tell you, because these campaigns have already been sent, and I can also tell you it's the same with all of my other clients, with all of my email campaigns. We get the highest open rates when we share blog posts with interesting topics that people are interested in. So we had a 40% open rate on our Sicilian dishes with wine pairings, whereas our average open rate for sales campaigns is about 30%. So we've got a very active audience, but they're really interested in this non-promotional content that we share. They're interested in learning, in reading entertaining things. We also had about $10,000 in sales with this Summer Sippers campaign. And the month previous, I had not been with this company, and they had sent their own sales campaign without the optimizations that I made for them. And they usually made about $3,000 or $4,000 per campaign, and about half of the number of sales. So when we get to these future slides, I'm going to show you what I do in my email campaign that typically doubles and sometimes even triples the average sales that a company is getting. So here's one example: optimization of sales campaigns. It's one thing to send an email. It's another thing to send an email that's actually going to convert the maximum number of sales. And there are so many things involved in actually getting the maximum number of sales that are possible per campaign. A lot of wineries that I've worked with are not doing 80 to 90% of these things. So they're losing a lot of sales. One of the most important things to consider, and I've got a little screenshot up here for you guys, is a landing page. A landing page is not just the page you send people to on your website. It is that, yes, but it is important to design that page specifically for the campaign that you are sending people from. So this page that you see in the screenshot is a page that I designed specifically, and I had my developer build. It took him about 30 minutes because I laid it out for him exactly. I put the pictures, I put the buttons, I included the text. And this landing page was designed to connect people to from my email campaign. This landing page alone is what doubled the sales that this company was previously getting per campaign. And that is because when people land on a page like this, that lays out very specifically and cleanly 3 different options of purchase sizes or offers, with buttons that are very clear, that have buy now, purchase, put in cart. This is a very effective way to sell wine to people. There's a couple other important things on this kind of landing page when we go to the actual landing page, and I'm going to show you the actual landing page in a minute here. And that's going to further increase the number of people who end up purchasing and not just leaving things in the cart and then abandoning. So layout, offer, call to actions, or CTAs, which are the buttons, and landing pages are all crucial to conversions. Now I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you some real email campaigns and some real landing page campaigns that have dramatically increased sales for wineries. So if you take a look at these and they don't look familiar or they look really different from what you are doing, you might want to just take a note and try some of these layout techniques or some of these landing page techniques. And if you do it correctly, these should really, really dramatically increase your sales. So I'm not a graphic designer. I'm going to be the first to admit that, but you don't need to be a professional graphic designer to send email campaigns that sell a lot of wine. And when my customers and clients ask me where they should spend their money, I always say, spend it on a marketing person first. Design is secondary. It's great for looks, but it's not going to actually make the hugest difference with your actual sales. I'm not a designer. This email isn't perfect, but it works really well. And this email that I'm scrolling you through right now did a total of $17,000 in sales to an audience of only 2,000 people. So this kind of email really, really works. There's a couple reasons this email works. One, this is actually technically my non-promotional email of the month for this brand. I'm sharing a blog post, something fun. I knew that our customers would be interested in Nero d'Avola, the Sicilian grape. So I wrote a blog post about Nero d'Avola, and I shared that, and that headline got 40% open rate. Now, I'm giving a brief amount of text, not pages worth of text in this email. I'm putting a button that they can click and they can visit the website. That's what we want. We want trackable actions. That's the only way we know if our content is good and if people like it, is if they click and they go to our website. Once they go to that website, they're going to read my blog post, and within the blog post, I'm linking to the purchase pages for the wines that we make that include Nero d'Avola. So we're going to get some sales even though it's just a blog post and it's technically non-promotional. I made about $5,000 in Narrow to Avila sales from just that blog post. Below this, I have also included an olive oil closeout sale for the first time in this email. And after this email, I'm going to send a specific email about just the olive oil campaign to anyone who has purchased olive oil in the past. That made $10,000 in olive oil sales, which we really needed because we needed to blow out all of our leftover olive oil before it expired, which is why we had a closeout sale. You'll also see a little reminder here to the right, summer sipper packs. That's a previous promotion that I had led in a previous month, but I wanted to just reiterate it in case someone missed it. That made another $4,000 in sales, just by reminding people that this promotion exists. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a landing page that I created for this campaign. As you see, this is not taking people to the shop where you would normally send people, where I see most wineries sending people, where you have all of the products on a page and then they have to do the work to figure out where to go to purchase a product. This is just a page with just the product that I have promoted in that section. So they've come here because they're interested in the olive oil. On this page, they can choose 2, 4, or 6. Really simple. $5,000 in olive oil sales at $15 a bottle at half off, that's a lot of olive oil sales, and that's just from this one email. So when they're done with this, they can also easily exit out or go back up to the corner and go shopping for regular wine and add that into their cart. So we're going to go back, and I'm going to give you one other example of a really effective email campaign. So this is an email campaign I think you'll find familiar. I had just showed you a screenshot in my PowerPoint. There's a couple things to note here. There's a lot of white space. The text is not too heavy. We're not giving them a 2-page story. This is an e-commerce campaign. It's obviously a sales campaign. Those who receive it know that this is a sales campaign, and that's okay. As long as we're not sending them sales campaigns every week, it does not bother people to know that you're trying to sell them wine. And in fact, it works really well. We've got our images of bottles, very e-commerce focused. It's making it very clear what the options are. There are not too many options, but there are also not too few options. There are just the right amount of options. We have buttons with text, buy now. This could also be purchase. It could be add to cart. It could be shop wines now. All of these work really well. When someone clicks on this button, they're going to go to another landing page that I created, which we did about 10,000 with this campaign. And about 2 months earlier, they had done a similar campaign to this, but without all of these optimizations, and they'd done about 3,000 in sales. So just with the addition of the better layout, the call to action buttons that with the right color and the right text, and this landing page that has been laid out specifically for conversions, they were able to almost triple the sales. And I've run multiple other campaigns just like this for this client every couple of months, and we always get really, really good sales. So a couple things on this landing page. Yes, great images, not too much text. We've made it really clear what the price point is. We've crossed out one price, and we've made it clear that it's a discounted price, but we haven't used a discount. And actually, I like this way better, where you cross out a price and show a different price, because it costs me less money, and I can give smaller discounts, and people don't notice. I've made it clear what's in each pack, 1, 2 bottles. I've got a button that says add to cart, and that's going to take them straight to their cart where they can check out. There's not going to be wasted pages in the middle of this and their purchase, which is another important thing. Back up to the top of this page, I've also made it very clear, and I've communicated what the shipping costs are going to be before the customer gets to the cart. One of the biggest reasons that customers leave products in carts, I would say the biggest reason, is because they get to the cart and suddenly see the shipping and hadn't thought about how much that was going to cost before they got to the shopping cart. If you make it really clear for them on the landing page, they're not going to be surprised when they get to the shopping cart. So this is a really important step. Then they're not going to abandon the cart because they already know what they're going to see. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. And actually, I think we should stop a little earlier for comments and questions, if that's okay. And then I'm going to go backwards to this slide after we do comments and questions.
Sure. If anybody has a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat box or the Q&A box.
Did anybody have any questions about landing pages, layout, content mix, anything?
Okay, we've got a couple.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good question. Jack, so I've basically come down to a mix that I use with almost all of my clients right now because I've found it to be really successful, which is, I'm actually sorry, I know you guys are sharing my screen right now so you can see this. The right balance for me with most of my clients is one major sales campaign per month and one non-promotional campaign. And what I mean by non-promotional is a blog post, recipes, a video winemaker, a winemaker video, an invitation to a virtual tasting, something that's not e-commerce campaign focused. But something important to note is that when you send a campaign like a blog post or a list of recipes, you also still want to make sure that it's optimized for sales because you can still make a lot of sales. So like the example I used earlier, I share a blog post about Nero de Avola, and in that blog post, I'm linking, every time I say Nero de Avola, I'm linking to the wine that we make with Nero de Avola. And then we're getting a few $1,000s in sales actually from people who were interested in buying that wine. I also add a pop-out box at some point in the blog post asking a question such as, have you tried our Nero de Avola? It pairs really well with XYZ food. And a lot of people click on that box and then they purchase wine, even though it was just a blog post.
There's a couple of other questions in the chat.
Yeah, so I can see it. So Karen, I find that 3 is the sweet spot. 2 is limiting. 3 is just perfect. And when you have 3, what I find is that most people will pick the middle option. And this is true for almost anything, not even just the wine industry. People always want to go with the middle option. I'm a marketing consultant. When I have 3 packages, people always choose the middle as well. So it's something about human nature that makes them choose not the lowest, not the highest, but the middle. I also do still get plenty of full case sales though. So one pushback I have gotten from small wineries in the past when I've changed their offer structure to have 3 different size offers versus what they previously did, which was just a discount on full cases, basically trying to force people to buy full cases to get the discount, is number 1, I've increased their profits and margins because more people buy wine at a lower discount. And number 2, I've doubled or tripled the number of sales that are coming in per campaign because more people are willing to buy wine when they don't have to buy a whole case just to get a discount. So I think 3 is the sweet spot. It has been for me and for my clients.
There's a couple questions in the chat box, which is right next to the Q&A box.
Oh yeah, let me.
I can read them to you if you'd like.
Oh yeah, I got it. Okay. How many emails do you suggest sending per month? I don't. Oh, Krista. So this really depends. You can send more emails to people who are really active, but I would not suggest more than 2 emails per month to your general list. And I say this because really, most people are only getting what, between 20 to 30% open rates at wineries. This is generally where the open rates lie for wineries. There is no sense in sending many, many emails to a list of people that are often not opening emails. It also tends to increase the number of unsubscribes when you send more emails to a general list of people. So my general rule is 2 campaigns per month to my general list. However, I also send additional micro campaigns to specific groups of people as appropriate. And I'll give you an example. When I have the olive oil closeout campaign, I sent my newsletter that included that closeout in a variety campaign, but then I sent a separate campaign in addition to that was only reaching people who had previously purchased olive oil. And that was about 200 people out of my list of 3,000 people. Last month, I also sent a micro campaign for one of my clients to their $75 a bottle and over buyers and only to those buyers. So those buyers received more emails that month than the general list, but it made sense because they're engaged and they were a specific group that I targeted a specific campaign to. And what you will find when you do these micro campaigns and you pull a specific segment is that you'll get even higher open rates. So I got a 50% open rate from my segmented campaigns versus my typical 30% open rate. Corinne, the email leads to the landing page even though they have the same info. Yes, because you need a page for people to purchase wines on, and as you'll probably notice, just because someone sees something in an email doesn't mean they're going to remember what was on that page. So one of the biggest mistakes that wineries make is sending people from an email sales campaign to a random or regular page on their website, where then the customer is sitting here and now they have a full page of products and they've got to figure out how to go and buy those products that were marketed in that campaign. You've got to make it easy and eliminate any thinking or effort on their part. They saw 3 campaigns in the email, now they're on the landing page, they see 3 objects. Now they're going to purchase. I think that's it for those questions. So I'm going to go backwards a slide and try to, so let's go to personalization and segmentation. I kind of just got into this with one of my comments, but I'm going to go over the few things that I see a lot of wineries skipping that are really, really important. One, and this may seem basic, and I know most people already do this, but I'm going to mention it anyways. Using people's first names in emails is essential. It may sound surprising, but I have worked with quite a few small wineries that don't use people's first names in emails. This is a very easy thing to do, and any professional email service makes it very easy to click a button and have a tag added to the beginning of each email that will automatically pull in the first name of that person. And that makes a really big difference in how a customer feels when they open your email. When it says Dear Brooke, it's a lot different than just going straight into a sales campaign or an ad. So that's one thing for personalization. Another example of personalization is what I previously had mentioned about picking a specific group of people and personalizing your marketing efforts to be specifically for that group. So in this screenshot here, you're going to see I've got an audience that says people who have bought olive oil, but not during August promotion. I've got a super specific list of people here. This is really personalized marketing here. Only the people who have previously purchased olive oil, but who have not yet purchased olive oil from my most recent promotion are going to get this email. This is for 2 reasons. I don't want to bombard people who have already recently purchased olive oil in the last 2 weeks with my promotions. That would be too many emails and I risk annoying people. I want to make sure that only those who love our olive oil, who have purchased our olive oil, but not recently have purchased our olive oil, are going to get this campaign. And this campaign made an extra $5,000 on top of the previous campaign that I ran because of this personalization. And we would not have made that if I had not taken away this group and done a second campaign and sent an extra email to them. So that's an example of personalization. Segmentation is a little bit broader, but very similar to personalization. Segmentation is simply the act of segmenting your audience and not sending the same emails to every segment. The most general example of this that every winery is going to have to deal with every time you send an email is wine club and non-wine club. It's essential not to send the same sales campaigns to your wine club and your non-wine club for 2 reasons. One, wine club gets different discounts, so you're going to use different terminology. Wine club are also your most, usually your biggest customers. They're sometimes the longest time customers, and you can speak a little differently and use some different terminology, such as with your club member benefits, as a club member. You're not going to want to use that terminology in a general email campaign. So you want to split the campaigns and make sure that the discounts that you're communicating are appropriate to the audience. And that's the most general example, but segments also get into non-engaged customers, highly engaged customers, medium engaged customers, 0 sales ever customers. These are other segments that you can split off and test with your campaigns to make sure that you understand how engaged each one of these audiences is. let's go. Just going to quickly glaze over automations because I think when we get to Q&A, it's going to be a lot more valuable than me just talking about this stuff. I think I've talked a little bit too much so far. So automations. If you're not using automations, the simplest definition of automations is an automated series of emails that is triggered by a specific action and that goes out to your customers when that action is triggered or completed. So an example of this on the most basic level, which is an automation that every single winery should always be using, is a welcome email. A welcome email is triggered when a new subscriber joins your email list. It triggers a welcome email to be sent to that subscriber. This needs to be a customized email that you have written to welcome this customer, not an automatic generic email that comes from your email service, because that's a really bad look when somebody just receives a "thanks for joining" from MailChimp. That's not good. You want something with an image, with your logo from your winery. It can be really simple. It doesn't have to be designed. It can just be a brief message, but it needs to say, hey, something along the lines of, thanks for joining our winery family. Thanks for subscribing to our list. Here's what you can expect to receive. And as a welcome gift, we'd like to extend a 10% discount. Here's a code you can use on your first online purchase, or a button you can click to go make that purchase. Here's a couple examples of some of our favorite products that our customers really like below the message. If you want to add that, that's a great way to make some sales. And after that original email, you want a couple more emails to go out that are specifically designed to go out to new customers who don't yet know your brand very well. Those are typically a second email which tells a little brand story, maybe about the family, maybe something unique about the brand, and it's a third email inviting them to follow you on social media or giving them links to some YouTube videos or things like that. After that third automated welcome email, they get funneled onto your general list, and you want to make sure that whoever your developer is that's connecting everything from your email to your website is connecting these things correctly for you. Other examples of automations are abandoned carts, view items, and the list goes on and on. There are endless numbers of automations that you can set up that will dramatically increase your sales. But the caveat is that if you don't have an e-commerce system that's connected to your email and everything isn't synced up with your e-commerce, most of these automations are not possible. So that's something that I'm not going to go too much into detail into, because I work with a lot of small wineries that don't have their e-commerce systems synced up. So all they can do is have welcome emails. If you do have your system synced up, you can get far more detailed. If you're using WineDirect, you can use a lot of automations that come with WineDirect. If you're using Commerce7, you can use your own email system and do any number of automations. Everything is possible with Commerce7. So it really depends on what systems you're dealing with, how many automations you can run. I go back to comments and questions before one last slide.
Yeah, there was a question regarding the video sharing, but I am not sure you were sharing at the time. So does anybody have any other questions? I know someone had asked about the landing page being sort of a duplicate to the email, but.
Yeah, I answered that with the last.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions about automations or segmentation, personalization?
Also, it's important to know about that connection to WineDirect and Commerce7 because there are platforms out there that work really well with these things, and there are some that really don't. So.
And actually, Jennifer, I'm going to see if you can read out the questions for me, because I think I stopped sharing my screen accidentally because I was reading the comments.
Okay. Yeah, if there are any questions, I'll read them off to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Everybody, if you can see my screen now, I really apologize. I think I somehow stopped sharing my screen. So if you have any questions about automations, segmentations, personalizations, I'm going to back up here, go back to this screen so you can see the topic. And give us a couple minutes for questions if anybody has them.
I think that we're good.
Okay, so let's go down to, so there's the last thing I want to cover. So if there's no questions, what that makes me think is that people are not quite clear on automations. Maybe you're not using them. Maybe you don't know how to get them set up. If you can tell me what email service you're using, and if you want to ask if it's possible to use automations with your setup, feel free to tell me, I'm using this email platform, I'm on this e-commerce system, what can I do? And I'll give you a suggestion. Even if we don't have time in this call, I'll respond to you via email, because automations are crucial. So we're gonna go to last kind of bonus slide.
Yeah, got a couple of questions here.
Oh, go ahead.
Jack says he has Opt-in Monster and Vino Shipper e-commerce for the email server, and
Vino Shipper is really tough to run. I have a client that's on Vino Shipper, and the only automation we're able to use for them is the welcome email series. We can't do abandoned cart, we can't do anything, because Vino Shipper is a closed system that we can't pull information from, and we can't integrate it with our email. So they're going to be switching to a different system, but for right now, I did implement a welcome series for them, which has a 70% open rate and has already made some sales for them. And that's something they did not previously have set up that is really crucial. Previously, when people were signing up to their list, they were not even getting an email saying, hey, welcome to our list. Now they're getting a welcome email. They're getting a discount code, which some people are using. And they are then getting a follow-up with a story about the family, making people feel good that they've signed up for this list that has a family behind it. And then they're getting a third email that says, hey, here's where we are on Instagram. Here's where we are on Twitter. Here's some videos we have on YouTube. And then that list is automatically being pushed over to the general list after that's done.
There was one other one that we have Krista who's using Orderport.
Yeah, I have to say, I know very few wineries who are using Orderport and Squarespace, but what's your email provider, Krista?
We'll give that a minute.
Yeah. So there's two things. It really doesn't matter which e-commerce, if that e-commerce doesn't connect with your email. If it doesn't connect, you've got a lot of limitations. If it does integrate, now Squarespace is very difficult for integrations and e-commerce. It's not set up to really be that flexible for e-commerce businesses. So if you're dealing with Squarespace and you're dealing with Orderport, it may be that you can't do a lot of these things, but you'll need to, I have a client that's on Orderport and they have MailChimp, and they can't integrate those two in order to do things like abandoned cart. But for an example, a lot of wineries are on WineDirect, and WineDirect integrates with MailChimp. So you can do all of this as long as your e-commerce is integrated with your email. If you're on Commerce7, Commerce7 integrates with MailChimp. If you're on WordPress and WooCommerce, you can integrate with almost any major email platform. So these are just examples of what makes some of these things possible. If you're dealing with a limited circumstance, and if you don't have integrations, just do what you can do. So do a welcome email series and try to focus on personalization and segmentation, and don't worry about the automations that you cannot do. All we can do is still, use the tools we have.
So Krista said she's using Rackspace.
I've never heard of that one. My suggestion would be to move to more used platforms. If you're using a platform that almost no one is using, there's a reason almost no one is using that platform, and they're generally very difficult because they don't integrate with everything. Systems have been set up to integrate with the most used platforms. And if you're using the most used platforms, everything becomes open to you. You can do anything. If you're using very rarely used platforms that don't integrate or are closed, you just have a lot of limitations. However, if you can't get them to change right now, just do what you can do. You can always do a welcome email with any email system. That is the bare minimum. And you can always segment your lists and try to send micro campaigns that are focused on a specific audience. So those are the things you can start with. And then if you can start thinking about how you might want to change your email platforms to be a little bit more easily integratable, that's something you could put in your 3-month plan or 2-month plan.
Alrighty, I think that's it for questions right now.
There's just one last topic I want to cover, and this is related to your email list, but it's not related to your email campaign. And why I want to cover this is because this is another huge missed opportunity that I see very few wineries taking advantage of, and it is something I use every day to make my clients money, and you can do it as long as you have email lists. You can do this. So this is what's called remarketing. Remarketing simply means marketing to lists of customers that you already have. As I pointed out earlier in this presentation, most wineries are only reaching between 20 to 30% of their audience with email. That means 70% of your audience is never receiving or opening or reading your emails. That's a lot of people who do know your brand, who signed up for your list at one point, who obviously were interested enough in your wines to sign up for your list. They probably have been to your winery and purchased your wines. These people should be being sold to, but you're not reaching them with email. So how do you reach them? This is where remarketing comes in. Facebook offers you the option to pull your email lists from wherever you have them, import them into Facebook Business Manager, and run ads targeting those people. So the caveat here is only one thing, and that is that you have to have a Facebook Business Manager account set up. This is not the same as a Facebook business page. All of us have had business pages. Facebook Business Manager is a completely separate type of account. It's connected to your Facebook business page, but it's a special place where you do all of your business activities and your advertising. If you do not have Facebook Business Manager, you need to set it up because there are features and possibilities with advertising that are only available within Facebook Business Manager. This is a free tool. It does not cost you anything. So I've got a screenshot here that I'm going to sort of make a little bigger for you. So this is a list of all of my different email lists that I've exported from my client's email platform. I create my own audiences based on what campaigns I'm going to run. So you'll see a couple examples here. I've got a list of people who have not purchased in 6 months. I've got a list of inactive email subscribers, meaning people who don't open emails. I've got a list of people who have never purchased, but they're on my email list. And I'm going to run ads to all of these audiences. And I have run ads to all of these audiences that are on this list that you can see in the screenshot. And I have made between $1,500 to $3,500 a month with ads on top of my email sales to people who were rarely opening emails, who rarely purchased and rarely engaged. An added benefit on top of all of these extra sales is that some of these people will resubscribe for your list when they see your Facebook ad. It may be that they've changed email addresses. It may be that you were going to junk and they didn't realize it. It may be that they were ignoring your emails, but the Facebook ad caught their attention and they thought, hey, I'd like some wine. I should resubscribe. So this is a really, really effective way to use your contacts. And the best thing of all about this is the lowest cost and highest return on investment that you can possibly get of any kind of ad that you can run. On an average ad, the return on investment could be really low. I mean, with an average ad, if you're just choosing a general wine-loving audience, the return on investment could be as low as 3 times, meaning 3 times higher than what you spent on the ad. When using your own contacts, as long as they're valid contacts and Facebook can find them and connect them to an audience, you're looking at anywhere between 15 to 50 times return on investment, meaning up to 50 times more than you spent on that ad is how much you can expect to see in sales. So I really like to point this out to people because I don't see a lot of wineries utilizing this, and it's really, really, really valuable and effective. Of course, you have to run a good ad. You have to know how to create an ad to sell to these people. It's not just as easy as it seems, but as long as you have these lists and your ad is good and you're using best practices, there is no way that you will not sell wine to your customer list. If you don't, there's something wrong with what you're doing. So if there's any questions about this or anything else.
Yeah, there's another question. And the question's from Tessa, and is this audience list on this slide in Facebook Business Manager or in your email system like MailChimp?
Facebook Business Manager. So basically what you do is you take your email list, you export them from your email platform, and you import them into Facebook Business Manager audiences. So when you're in Facebook Business Manager, you have a section up in your left-hand menu that is for audiences. The thing that confuses wineries most when I mention this type of marketing is that many small wineries don't have Facebook Business Manager. They think they do, but they do not. What they have is a Facebook business page. That is not the same. Facebook Business Manager is a very separate thing. So whoever leaves their email, I'm going to send you a link to some instructions on how to set up Facebook Business Manager. And you're going to need to do that yourself. I'm not going to be able to walk you through it. But once you do that, you're going to have access to a lot more tools when it comes to advertising.
Okay.
Any more questions about anything in the entire, we're now it's all for questions, and you guys have as much time as you want to answer, to ask questions.
We've got a couple more. Can you talk about managing your mailing list? Do you delete people who bounce, soft bounces?
Yeah, the only time it's ever appropriate to delete a contact is if they're bounced. I've had people ask me before, well, shouldn't we just delete people who never engaged? No. If you want a record of every contact that has ever subscribed for your email list, the only time I ever delete contacts is if they're bounced, and I don't delete them immediately. I do an every 3-month cull or cleaning. And why I do that is because sometimes something could bounce because it's temporarily deactivated, and then later it could be good. So I want to give a good period of time to make sure I'm not deleting valid emails. So every 3 months, I go through my list, I look at all the bounces, and I delete all of the bounces, but I never, ever delete any other contact. Unsubscribes, you need them. You need to keep that list because they may resubscribe, and you want to see in your records that they used to subscribe, then they unsubscribed, now they resubscribed. This is all super valuable information. So what I do in addition to deleting bounces though, is I usually separate out a group of people based on them never opening campaigns. So I set a filter such as has not opened any email in the past 10 campaigns. And I separate that group out, and I don't send them very many emails. I send a test email every few weeks, and I make sure that the headline is not sales focused and that it's just interesting content. It's not a sales pitch. And sometimes what I'm able to do is retrieve or win back some of those customers that never engaged because they were tired of being marketed to, or they were tired of the kind of content they were receiving. But now that they're receiving fewer emails and interesting blog posts, some of them are starting to engage. And then I'm able to pull those people back and put them back on my engaged list. So that's another thing I recommend.
Alrighty, does anyone else have any questions?
I think I missed a couple comments. Oh no, okay.
Yeah. Can you explain the lookalike audience?
Yeah, so lookalike is just an automatic audience that Facebook pulls, and they pull it to look like whatever audience has purchased from you previously. So you can choose a lookalike audience to look like the people who like your page, or you can choose a lookalike audience to look like your email list, which are your customers. And Facebook will pull people from all over Facebook that match in records to those who are purchasing from you that are on your email list.
Cool. Does anyone else have a question? Alrighty.
So I know people probably have a few more questions, and maybe some people had to get off the call, but please feel free to email me or leave your email in the comments, and I can send you a link to instructions on that are online to sign up for your Facebook Business Manager account if you want to do that. And I can also send you some screenshots or copies of the email campaign examples that I showed you guys in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, and we'll be following up with everybody via email too. So you'll get a link to the presentation and the slides. Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Brooke, did you put your email up?
Yes, sorry,
okay.
Right there.
So this is Brooke at localfoodanddrinkfinder.com. Here's one last question. Do you have any guidance on how to increase your email list count?
Well, you know, that's sort of a different topic, but, you know, lead generation, there's lots of things I could say. I do this for my clients as well. This is part of what I do for them in my digital marketing packages, is I implement a series of actions that are going to increase their incoming subscribers. This is everything from making sure that your website is optimized to collect email addresses, which sadly, many wineries' websites are absolutely not. I can't tell you how many wineries' websites I've been to and I have no way, I can't find any way to subscribe to their list. It's not visible, it's not easy. That's the first thing. Second, you want to optimize your social media profile to make sure that you're giving an option or a link to subscribe for your list, that you mention it occasionally on Facebook, maybe pin that to the top of your page. And then you can also run paid lead generation campaigns at a low cost per day via Facebook and Instagram to collect leads.
Awesome. Anybody else? Yep, we got one more. Oh, Jack says, thanks for everything. Super awesome. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, I feel like I talked a lot and it's weird because I can't see anyone's faces or hear you talking, but I hope it was valuable in some way to people.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and end the call now, and we will follow up with everyone within probably a week. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.